Chineke biko zọpụta m. Na mama mi ogire maka eziokwu odima biko zọpụta m ugbu a.
The first time I heard Chidi praying at 3 a.m., I thought maybe he was just stressed about exams. We were both final year students at the University of Lagos, sharing a small self-contained off-campus in Yoba. The room was so tight that our mattresses were almost touching on the floor, separated only by a thin curtain we had hung for privacy. That night, I woke up to the sound of his voice, low and urgent, whispering prayers in Igbo. I checked my phone. 3:17 a.m. The exact same time for 3 nights straight. I didn't think much of it at first. Many students pray before exams. But Chidi's voice sounded different. It wasn't the calm voice of someone seeking God's favor. It was the desperate voice of someone running from something dark. On the 4th night, I decided to peek through the gap in our curtain. What I saw made my blood freeze. Chidi was kneeling on the bare floor, completely naked except for a red cloth tied around his waist. In front of him was a small clay pot I had never seen before, with a single white candle burning inside. The flame was dancing wildly even though there was no breeze in the room. Around the pot, he had arranged 7 cowrie shells in a perfect circle. His eyes were closed tight, and sweat was pouring down his face like he had just finished running a marathon. He kept repeating the same phrase over and over. Please, leave me alone. I quickly pulled back and pretended to be asleep, my heart pounding so hard I thought he would hear it. When morning came, everything was normal. The pot was gone. The shells were gone. Chidi was dressed and smiling, asking me if I wanted to buy akra and bread for breakfast. I wanted to ask him what I had seen, but something in his eyes warned me to stay silent. 2 days later, our neighbor in the next room, a quiet boy named Emeka, died in his sleep. He was only 23 years old and had no history of sickness. The landlord called the police, but they found nothing suspicious. The doctors said his heart just stopped for no reason.
Doctors shake their heads. I watch from a distance, fear growing.
The whole compound was in shock. Emeka's body was taken back to his village for burial, and his room remained empty and dark. That same week, Chidi started bringing home expensive things. A new laptop. Designer shoes. A thick gold chain that looked like it cost more than our rent for the whole year. When I asked him where the money was coming from, he just smiled and said he had found a new side hustle online. But I noticed he never touched his phone during the day. He only used it late at night, after I pretended to fall asleep. The 3 a.m. prayers continued every single night without fail. And every time, I would hear that same desperate begging in Igbo, followed by the smell of burning herbs that made my stomach turn. I wanted to move out, but I had already paid for the whole session, and my parents couldn't afford to lose that money. Then, 3 weeks after Emeka's death, another student in our compound died. This time it was Blessing, a beautiful girl who lived upstairs. She was found in her bathroom with her eyes wide open and her mouth frozen in a silent scream. The police came again. The doctors were confused again. No poison. No wounds. Just another young heart that stopped beating for no medical reason. I started noticing a pattern. Every time someone died, Chidi's wealth increased. After Blessing's death, he bought a small generator and a new mattress. He started eating at expensive restaurants and wearing clothes that made him look like an island big boy, not a struggling student. But his eyes were becoming hollow and dark, like something inside him was slowly dying. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I waited until I heard him start his 3 a.m. ritual, then I turned on my phone's flashlight and pulled the curtain open. "Chidi, what are you doing?" I shouted. He spun around, and what I saw was not my roommate. His face was twisted in pure terror, and tears were streaming down his cheeks. "I can't stop," he whispered. "If I stop, it will take me instead." "What will take you? What did you do?" He began to sob like a child. He told me that 6 months ago, before we became roommates, he had gone to a herbalist in a village near Bedegri. He was desperate because his father was sick and his mother couldn't afford the hospital bills. The herbalist promised him wealth, but the price was 7 lives. Young lives, lives from people living close to him. Every month, at 3 a.m., he had to perform the ritual to transfer the dead to someone else in the compound. If he missed even one night, the spirits would come for him instead. "I've already taken 4, he cried. Emeka and Blessing were the last 2. I need 3 more to complete the contract. I backed away from him in horror. "You're a murderer. You killed them for money." "I didn't want to," he screamed. "But if I don't finish, my whole family will die." The herbalist said the spirits don't negotiate. I grabbed my phone to call the police, but before I could dial, the candle flame in his pot exploded into a tall column of fire that reached the ceiling. The room became freezing cold, and I could see my breath in the air. Chidi fell to the ground, shaking violently, pointing at the corner of the room. "They're here," he whispered. "They came early." I looked at the corner and saw nothing. But I felt them. A presence so heavy and evil that my legs refused to move. Chidi started screaming, clutching his chest exactly the way Emeka and Blessing must have before they died. His eyes rolled back, and his body went stiff. I finally found the strength to run. I burst out of the room and started banging on every door in the compound, shouting for help. By the time people gathered, Chidi was already gone. His body was cold and his face was frozen in the same silent scream I had seen on Blessing. The police ruled it as another mysterious death. But I knew the truth. The herbalist's death had come to collect its payment. Chidi had tried to cheat death, and death had won. I moved out the next day. I never went back to that compound. But sometimes, late at night, I still wake up at exactly 3:17 a.m., hearing the faint echo of desperate prayers in Igbo, reminding me that some shortcuts in life lead straight to the grave. Not every hustle is a blessing. And some prayers are not meant to be answered.